Thank you very much, Hobart. And keep the applause going for our second speaker tonight. We have Olly.
Hello. Thank you so much for coming tonight. And an extra thank you to those of you that have come to all 3 nights. I absolutely love that. So I'm Olly Dove, and at some point tonight, oh my God, thank you, I love that for me. At some point, you're gonna realize that there's a bit of a British accent seeping through here, and yes, I can confirm that unfortunately, I do not have an AI girlfriend. Also, unfortunately, is that I come from the UK. And when people find out I'm British, they love to remind me that it's so cold and so rainy over there, as if I'm not well aware. But what those people don't realise is that in the UK, we have central heating and double glazing. Yeah, you might be able to see where I'm going with this one, can't you? But even though I could keep toasty inside my house, I was sick and tired of hiding from the cold and the rain in an insulated house. So I moved to Tasmania, where I could hide from the cold and the rain in an uninsulated house. So I totally kid. This isn't actually my house, although it actually doesn't look that different from my share house in Sandy Bay. But this is actually where I go to do field work, and it's that work that I'm here to talk to you about tonight. So appropriately for someone called Olly Dove, I have always loved birds, always wanted to work with them. So I worked in a sanctuary at 21 in Brisbane, and then I went to Madagascar to study plovers at 24, and then I went back to England to chase swans off of motorways at 25. When life imitates art. And speaking of art, I don't just love working with animals, I love writing about them. So if I could live my dream life, I would be a writer. I would write novels and I would write books about animals. But as much as I'm creative, I'm also a very pragmatic person, and I realised you cannot pay bills as a writer. So I decided to become a scientist. And I started a PhD here at the University of Tasmania. And now that I've finished my PhD, I can confirm I still can't pay my bills. So why exactly Tasmania to study birds? They're all over the world. Well, can anyone name a more iconic duo than Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson? What about Batman and Robin? Now, I know what you're all thinking. Olly, there's such an obvious answer. It's the short-tailed shearwater and the little penguin. Yeah, absolutely. So you might know the short-tailed shearwater as the yulla or mutton bird. And you might know the little penguin by their other names as blue or fairy. But did you know how important these 2 species are for our local marine ecosystem? Because just like me, these seabirds are mesopredators. Okay, well maybe not quite like me, but they're mesopredators with an E. So they sit in the middle of the food chain. So while they're out at sea, they're trying to predate on prey and find their dinner. But at the same time, they've got to avoid being predated on themselves. That's kind of a tough gig, to be fair. And this is just their natural challenge. But on land, they face lots of other challenges. They have to deal with invasive animals like cats, dogs, and building developers. And then again, you're probably thinking, well, that's on land. Obviously, there's going to be challenges. That's where the humans are. But no, even when they're out at sea, just doing their thing, there's still challenges. And out there, the seabirds have got to deal with climate change, marine heat waves, and building developers. In a lot of ways, these seabirds have the worst of both worlds. So we want to be able to help them and make sure that they can stay around so that they can fulfill their important role in the ecosystem and we can maintain stability. So a couple minutes ago, I told you that they were my favourite duo, but I should probably explain why I want to work with both of them at the same time. They have a lot of similarities, like both mesopredators, both seabirds, they eat similar species, and they also live in overlapping colonies. But it's actually their differences which is why I'm interested in them. So, the short-tailed shearwater can fly. The little penguin cannot. The short-tailed shearwater can fly all the way to Antarctica for a bit of R&R away from the kids to just build up their body condition. And then they can get there and back within 2 weeks. The little penguin cannot. But do you know what the little penguin can do that the short-tailed shearwater can't? No takers? No takers? They can be wildly popular for merchandise. Yeah. Bet none of you have ever seen a shearwater vest, have you? If you have, though, meet me at the bar later because I would love to hear where you found it. So we want to be finding out what these birds are doing out at sea, because that's step one of being able to protect them. But how do you find out where a seabird has gone to sea? Well, you can't just give them a survey to fill out. They don't have opposable thumbs, they're not going to hold the pen, and it's not as if a $50 Woolies voucher or free tickets to the winter feast is going to entice them. No. We have to be a bit smarter about it. So if you've ever got stuck in Hobart's one-way system, you've probably used GPS technology to get out of it, right? And we can use this technology with the seabirds. So as my glamorous assistant here is demonstrating, that is a device called a biologger attached to the feathers on the back of the bird. And this device can record lots of types of data, including location. So with that kind of data, I can work out exactly where they're going at sea. And this is important to me because, like those of you that have been here for all 3 nights, I too have stalker tendencies. It's okay, I'm not judging, you do you. But how do we get it on the bird? So, short-tailed shearwaters and little penguins live underground in burrows. Now, someone said that's so cute, you're so right. Now, imagine if you are one of those cute penguins. You're nice and cozy in your burrow, you've just come back from a long, hard day, you're living your best life, then bam! A hand comes through the front door. Yeah, it's not the most glamorous or polite way that we do the work, and it is all done under ethics, so I, under no means, endorse you go out and pull penguins yourself. But this is what we have to do to get the birds out. And this is just an artist's representation of what it looks like from their point of view. But I can show you what it looks like from the researcher's point of view. So here in the wild, we have a PhD candidate. She has stuck her hand in the ground, hoping there's not a snake in there, but a seabird. She is foregoing danger. She has to cross twigs and fleas and ticks to get that very elusive data. Otherwise, she has to go back to the UK. Side note, my visa is running out, so if anyone would like to hire me, please come see me at the bar as well. But when she's out there, she has to forego her own safety and self-dignity. And that rare chance to get that sweet, sweet data. Yeah, okay, so it's not like the most attractive I've ever looked. It's also not the least attractive I've ever looked. But it has given me great content for the apps. Because As I said, I don't have an AI girlfriend, so I need to do something. But unsurprisingly, or maybe surprisingly, I don't know, this approach is actually yet to work. So, if anyone would like to meet me at the bar later, feel free to buy me a drink. No, seriously, please do buy me a drink. I just finished a PhD and I cannot afford it myself. So I'm begging you. But yeah, so we did it. We got the birds. Woo, 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 woo. Yay, we can do science. Yeah, and look how happy they look, or at least they're not biting me, so I'm going to take that as a win. And now that we've got the bird, we can put the biolog on their back and send them off to sea. And we get data like this. So we've got Tassie here, and that red dot is Wedge Island, where I do my work. So we put the tag on it there, and every colour that you see is a shearwater, a different bird. And you can see how individual they are. These are day tracks, and they can get round way to the southwest and back to their little ones in just a day. And they can show real flexibility in what they're doing. You know, if one area is not good, like they've tried Coles, they can just go over to Woolies across the road. They can do amazing things. So the short-tailed shearwaters are really impressive, while the little penguins tried their best. So the penguins, you know, they are doing what they can do with their limited size and the lack of flying. But what we found out is this area, this was over multiple years, and they're still using that one area. So we've identified a really key hotspot for the penguins. And this sort of work is just stage one of what we can do. We can now go further and deeper and find out what they're doing in these areas exactly and why they're so key to them. And this is important because we want our birds to be able to come home and feed their chicks so that the population can stay stable. So when you go home tonight or you go to your shack at the weekend because it's Tassie, remember to keep your cats, dogs and building developers away from our seabird colonies. But also remember, and some people would say this is actually even more important, but remember to meet me at the bar, just in case you'd like to date or hire me. Thank you.
Keep the applause going over. Next speaker of the night, we have Chris Brown.